They're just constantly on us. TV, radio, the mail, on our phones, texting. Hey, Bill, Tim Walz here. You up? They're everywhere all the time. Jesus Christ, off. Let mommy put her purse down.
And what I could see is replacing the vice president, because she's just not very popular anywhere, and it didn't seem to work out. And I don't know, that's been done before on a ticket. I just think she's a bad politician.
As Democrats continue searching for someone to lead the party into the next election, one familiar name keeps popping back into the conversation: Kamala Harris. For many voters, though, her return doesn't exactly feel like a fresh start. And if you've watched Bill Maher for any length of time, you already know he's never been one of Harris's biggest supporters. That hasn't changed. In a sharp and memorable monologue, Maher took aim at the growing speculation surrounding Harris's political future and made it clear he isn't buying the hype. He didn't just question the idea, he tore into it with the kind of blunt commentary that's become his trademark. So sit back, because this debate is about to get interesting.
When Joe Biden was still hanging on to be the candidate, many of the pundits said that to switch him out this late would cause chaos. Yeah, that was never my position. And indeed, what happened was Kamala Harris said, "Oh, look, I guess it's my turn." And the next day, a grateful nation handed her $500 million. The only reason we stay stuck in permanent campaign mode is money. It's estimated this year that $16 billion will be spent on political ads. It's time we admit that the endless campaign exists only to enrich advertisers, political consultants, and what's left of the news media.
Maher began by pointing to what he sees as a major problem for Democrats. It took years for President Biden to step aside and acknowledge concerns about whether he should seek another term. According to Maher, many voters had been raising those concerns long before they became part of the mainstream conversation. Then came the presidential debate, a moment that intensified those questions and shifted the political landscape almost overnight. With pressure mounting, Democrats had to make a decision fast. And who did they turn to? Kamala Harris. Maher argued that Harris never had to fight through a competitive primary or prove herself against serious challengers within her own party. Instead, she inherited the spotlight at a critical moment, but in his view, that strategy didn't pay off. He described the outcome as a major political setback and used it as another example of what he believes has gone wrong inside Democratic leadership. For Maher, the lesson was simple. Replacing one struggling candidate with another familiar face wasn't the game-changing move many hoped it would be.
People didn't used to get sick of the candidates because you barely ever saw them unless you happened to be standing at the back end of a train. But now we never stop seeing them. The winner in modern elections comes down to who we're less tired of. They're just constantly on us. TV, radio, the mail, on our phones, texting. Hey, Bill, Tim Walz here. You up? They're everywhere all the time. Jesus Christ, off. Let mommy put her purse down.
One of Maher's less controversial explanations for why Kamala Harris struggled politically was simple. Voters had seen enough. Not because she projected strong leadership, but because she seemed to be everywhere, all at once. According to Maher, Harris and Tim Walz became nearly impossible to avoid during the campaign. Whether it was television appearances, social media clips, online ads, concerts, or YouTube videos, their presence felt constant. For many people, it wasn't building excitement, it was creating fatigue. The campaign strategy appeared to be based on maximum visibility. But Maher argued that there comes a point when more exposure stops helping and starts hurting. Instead of generating enthusiasm, it risked making voters tune out altogether. In his view, the problem wasn't simply that people saw too much of the campaign, it was that all the visibility wasn't paired with a message that truly connected. Critics felt the effort came across as overly managed, out of touch, and lacking the authenticity voters were looking for. As Maher suggested, what was meant to be a powerful media push may have ended up doing the exact opposite. Rather than building momentum, it became an example of how overexposure can sometimes work against a campaign.
And what I could see is replacing the vice president, because she's just not very popular anywhere, and it didn't seem to work out. And I don't know, that's been done before on a ticket. I just think she's a bad politician.
Another reason Maher believes Kamala Harris struggles as a candidate comes down to a basic issue. He simply doesn't think she's a particularly strong politician. And he's not talking about being an unconventional outsider or a politician who breaks the mold. His criticism is much simpler. In Maher's view, Harris often appears uncomfortable when she's pushed beyond prepared talking points. When interviews stay on script, things usually go smoothly, but the moment an unexpected question comes her way, critics argue that her answers can become long, complicated, and difficult to follow. Instead of delivering a clear point, she sometimes ends up circling around the question without ever really landing on an answer. It's a criticism that's followed her for years. Those lengthy responses have become a frequent target for commentators, who argue that she often says a lot without actually saying very much. For Maher, that's a major weakness in modern politics, where voters increasingly expect candidates to think on their feet and communicate clearly under pressure.
You need to get to go. I need to be able to get where you need to go.
I do believe that we should have rightly believed, but we certainly believe that certain issues are just settled. And that's why I do believe that we are living in real unsettled time.
Even in friendly scripted interviews, Harris often struggles to deliver clear, concise answers. She'll start a point, circle back, and sometimes leave viewers wondering what the actual message was. For someone with years of experience in public office, critics argue that her communication skills still feel surprisingly shaky. In politics, clarity and confidence matter, and Maher believes that's an area where she consistently falls short. He's not claiming anything new either. He's pointing to moments many people already remember. For example, who could forget the time she mistakenly referred to North Korea as a US ally?
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. In the North, we see a brutal dictatorship, rampant human rights violations, and an unlawful program.
I mean, seriously, how do you accidentally call North Korea an ally? That's not just a simple mistake, it's the kind of comment that immediately grabs attention for all the wrong reasons. Critics argue that if it were a one-time slip, it would be easy to dismiss, but they point to a longer pattern of awkward moments and verbal missteps that have followed Harris throughout her career. And that's where Maher's concern comes in. Imagine a president sitting across from world leaders during a high-pressure negotiation. Every word matters. A confusing or inaccurate statement isn't just an embarrassing moment. It can raise real questions about leadership and judgment. For Maher, that's the bigger issue. The presidency demands precision, and he believes too many of Harris's public moments have suggested the opposite.
This is Kamala's great dilemma. Trump is invulnerable to an October surprise, but she is very vulnerable because she's the one who is still undefined. And as she showed in this week's Bret Baier interview, her go-to when attacked for her own actions is usually Trump. Okay. We know that. But now undecided voters want to hear about you. They want someone to vote for. This election comes down to this. Trump has a coalition of voters made up of A, people who really do like him, and B, people who think with all of his flaws, he's still better than far-left insanity.
According to Maher, Harris often fell back on one argument whenever she faced tough questions, that Trump. But he argued that simply being the alternative isn't enough to inspire voters. In his view, that's not a winning strategy, it's an avoidance of the bigger issues. Maher also questioned whether Harris was willing to challenge the more vocal factions within her party, or if she would simply go along with them. His conclusion was clear. He believed she too often followed the crowd instead of setting her own direction. For Maher and many frustrated voters, that raised a larger concern. They weren't just looking for someone to repeat popular talking points. They wanted a leader with a clear vision and the confidence to stand by it, even when it's unpopular.
And the voters' big doubt about Kamala is, are you part of far-left insanity? The attack ad I see 10 times a day, and a question Bret Baier aimed at her on Wednesday, was about her saying in 2019 that she supported providing taxpayer-funded sex change operations to illegal immigrants in prison. something that's actually never happened and has no real bearing on anybody's life. But it's a litmus test for voters out there who want to know of the Democrat, is there anything your fringe can suggest that will ever make you say, no, that's ridiculous? It's getting late early, and we can't afford any more bad answers like this one last week.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
No bueno.
According to Maher and other critics, many voters wanted to know whether Harris would offer a different direction from the Biden years or continue along the same path. In their view, she never gave a clear answer. They argue that instead of presenting a strong, independent vision, Harris often relied on broad political messaging that failed to connect with voters who were looking for clarity and change. That created an opening for Trump. Whether people supported him or not, many saw him as offering a clear alternative. He spoke about issues like the economy, energy, public safety, and strong leadership in a way that resonated with his supporters. For those voters, the choice wasn't just about picking a candidate, it was about choosing what they believed was a different direction for the country.
Next time, maybe try. Joe Biden generally did a good job, but sure, I wish we'd tightened the border sooner, as we have done now, and trust me, I learned my lesson, and that's never going to happen again. Kamala, it's so important that you win this election, not just for the sake of retaining a real democracy and for the good of the world, but also because I predicted a month ago you'd win this thing, and if you blow it, it's going to make me look bad.
Another reason Maher points to is Harris's role in addressing issues related to the southern border. Critics argue that it was one of her highest profile responsibilities, yet they saw little evidence of effective leadership or meaningful results. As border crossings increased, concerns grew over immigration, drug trafficking, and broader security challenges. Opponents frequently blamed the administration for failing to get the situation under control and questioned Harris's response to the growing pressure. For Maher, the issue wasn't just the border itself, it was what he viewed as a lack of leadership during a major national challenge. In his eyes, when voters were looking for action and accountability, Harris often seemed absent from the conversation.
I've got a really good prediction record, so please don't f this up. Kamala, ever since I put down my marker on you and said you'd win and I wasn't even worried about it, everyone, everywhere, on the road, in LA, texting me, emailing me, stopping me in restaurants, asking me, Bill, are you sure? No, I'm not sure. What am I, Kreskin? Of course I'm not sure, but that's my gut. I think Kamala Harris wants this. I think she can do this, to say nothing of, if she loses, she'll never hear the end of it from Joe. I told you I was the only one who could beat him, Biden.
Maher's prediction ultimately proved correct in the eyes of his supporters. Harris lost, and critics argue that many of the concerns raised during the campaign still remain today. They point to recent public appearances as evidence that she hasn't significantly changed her approach. At a major real estate conference, for example, critics said her remarks lacked clarity and failed to leave a strong impression. For Maher, it's another sign that the same communication issues that hurt Harris politically continue to follow her. Whether that changes in the future remains to be seen. And with that, we've reached the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.